There are 7 billion people on this planet, and every single day, roughly 1,000 of them simply vanish. They leave behind breakfast dishes still crusted with egg, toothbrushes standing upright in cups, alarm clocks set for mornings they never intend to wake up for. They kiss their children goodnight. They tell their wives they're running to the store. They step through the front door and into a kind of death that doesn't require dying. Most people assume the missing are victims, taken against their will, swallowed by tragedy. And many of them are. But there is another category. A quieter, more unsettling one. People who weren't taken at all. People who chose to disappear. And some of them, the ones who haunt me most, were eventually found. Not in shallow graves. Not in the wreckage of accidents. They were found alive. Breathing. Working. Laughing, even. Living entirely different lives under entirely different names. As if the people who loved them had been nothing more than a rough draft they decided to throw away. I catalogue these people. That's my work. That's my life. To the extent that the two can still be distinguished, my name isn't important. What matters is the basement. A long, narrow room beneath a building that most people in this city have forgotten exists, lined floor to ceiling with filing cabinets that haven't been replaced since the 70s. The drawers stick. The labels have yellowed. The fluorescent tube above my desk has developed a faint buzz at a frequency I've come to think of as the Archivist's heartbeat, a low, persistent hum that fills the silence when I stop turning pages. The air down here smells like dying paper dust and foxing and the particular sweetness of old adhesive losing its grip. But underneath that, if you sit long enough, there's something sharper, metallic. The slow oxidation of steel in a room with too much moisture and not enough air. I used to think it was the filing cabinets rusting. Now I think it might be time itself, the molecular residue of years passing in a space that no one visits, that no one cleans, that exists below the world's attention like a thought that refuses to surface. I have been sitting in this smell for 11 years. My right shoulder has seized into a permanent hunch from leaning over documents. I eat the same thing every day, black coffee. A sandwich from the same deli I've been going to for a decade. An apple I bring from home and never finish. There's a mirror in the archive bathroom. I've covered it with a map of the eastern seaboard. I tell myself it's for research. But the truth is I stopped wanting to see my own face about 6 years ago. Not because it's ugly. Because I'm not sure who's looking back. I sleep in 4-hour intervals because that's what the body will agree to. Anything more and the dreams come. And the dreams are just the files the missing people walking through my apartment at 3 in the morning, sitting on my bed, standing in my kitchen, asking why I haven't found them yet. They don't shout. They don't accuse. They just ask, quietly, the way a child asks where their parent went. And I wake up with no answer and come back down here and keep looking. I don't have friends. I don't say that for sympathy, I say it for accuracy. The work consumes the hours that friendship requires. The obsession fills the space that intimacy would normally occupy. I have colleagues upstairs whom I see occasionally in the hallway, and they nod at me the way you do nod at a piece of furniture that has always been in the same spot. I have a landlord who slides my lease renewal under the door once a year. I have a dentist who sends me postcards I throw away. And I have Dennis. Dennis is the security guard who works the overnight shift in the building above me. He's 63. Ex-military. Breeds Louis Lama Westerns during his rounds. At midnight, every night I'm here, he opens the stairwell door, looks down into the basement, and says, "Still alive?" And I say, "Debatable." And he laughs a short, dry sound, more cough than laugh, and closes the door. That's it. 2 sentences and a laugh. 12 times a month. He doesn't ask what I'm working on. He doesn't ask why I'm down here at hours when people with healthy lives are sleeping. He just confirms that I exist. And I confirm that existence is debatable. And we both accept the terms. Some nights when the files get heavy and the silence turns from empty to occupied, when I can feel the weight of all these vanished lives pressing against the cabinet drawers like they are trying to get out, that single exchange is the only evidence I have that I am still part of the world above, still alive. Debatable. A lifeline disguised as a joke. I tell you all of this not because my life is interesting. It isn't. I tell you because you need to understand what kind of person sits alone in a basement for 11 years reading about people who erased themselves. You need to understand the particular flavor of damage that draws someone to this work and keeps them here long after any reasonable person would have climbed the stairs and walked away. Because the story I'm about to tell you is not just about the people in these files. It's about me. About what I found when I opened a drawer I should have left closed. About the moment I realized that the archive I'd been building, this careful, obsessive catalogue of other people's disappearances, was never really about them. It was about the one disappearance I couldn't catalogue. The one I'd been circling for 20 years without knowing it. But we'll get there. First, I need to show you how deep this goes. How many lives have been split in two by a single decision to walk away? How many families have been haunted by the particular cruelty of an absence that chose itself? I need you to see what I see when I open these files. Not the facts. The facts are easy. Dates, locations, timelines. Anyone can read those. I need you to see the weight. There's a cabinet in the far corner of the archive. Third row, second from the left. The drawer requires both hands to open because the runners have corroded and the metal resists like it is trying to protect what is inside. I go to that drawer more often than I should. I've worn a path in the concrete floor between my desk and that cabinet of faint discoloration that traces my obsession in geography. Inside that drawer is a file I've read so many times that pages have gone soft at the edges. The photograph clipped to the front shows a man with brown hair and an unremarkable face, the kind of person you'd pass on the street without a second glance, the kind of face that disappears even before the person does. His name was Richard Allen Daniels, and his story is the reason I'm down here, the reason I've stayed, the reason I covered the mirror and stopped sleeping and let Dennis become the closest thing I have to a human connection. Richard's story is the first door I opened. And what was on the other side changed everything I thought I understood about why people leave, about what it costs them, about what it costs the ones who stay. I'm going to open that file again now, one more time, and I'm going to tell you what's inside, not because you need to know, because I need to say it out loud, to someone, to anyone, before the weight of carrying it alone becomes the thing that finally makes me disappear too. I open the file. I need to ask you something. If this story found you, then I need you to do two things. First, subscribe to this channel. Not for me, for the people in these files. Their stories deserve to be heard. And every time you subscribe, every time you come back to this archive, turn on notifications. Because when the next chapter drops, you don't want to be the one who missed it. Because that's how these stories survive. Not through archives. For someone to listen. I'll see you in the next chapter of the Archive of the Disappeared.